Gibb. I'm the Events and Marketing Manager at Pro Manchester, if anyone doesn't know me. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, Crafting Your Career, hosted by CMC. Today's speaker is Clare Mulligan-Foster, the owner of CMC. Following today's session, I'll send out a post-event email, which will contain any post-event collateral, links to where you can find out about other Pro Manchester events, and our Pro Manchester YouTube channel, where you can see some of the past webinars that you may have missed, and also this one Claire will kindly be sharing at the end, so you can take a second look. Hit the subscribe button whilst you're in there, and then you can stay up to date. This email will also contain our feedback form. If you could please take just 2 minutes to fill this in, it really is helpful for us to continue to improve our offerings and provide consistently great content. And we're always looking for new ideas, and it's really valued. So yeah, that'd be really appreciated. And you know, then hopefully we can create some future webinars that you've been really looking to find. So just a couple of bits of housekeeping. Please keep your microphones on mute for the time being. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded, and please use the chat function to ask any questions, comments, observations, and we'll try our best, or Claire will try her best to answer as many as possible. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Claire.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sean said it's a very rainy August day. And so I'm going to go through about crafting your career. Just to introduce myself, Sean's did a little bit there. My name's Clare Mulligan-Foster. I'm an organisational psychologist. So what that means is it's study of the sort of brain and behaviour of everything to do with people at work. Chartered psychologist and accredited coach. I also lecture and research for companies, so class myself as a scientific practitioner, so base my work on science and theory. And as Sean said, I own the business, CMC Business Psychology, and do hope that you check us out. We share a lot of stuff about careers, and we have a regular newsletter with tools and things for careers. And there's lots of content on the website, so do check it out if you get a chance. Be delighted. So today's topic is talking about crafting your career. And why is it important? Well, you've all heard of the phrase unprecedented times, and we are in that in terms of careers. Obviously, we've been dealing with the COVID-19 time when we're dealing with lots of change and lockdowns, etc., and fears and all that sort of stuff. We've also changed the way of working for a lot of us. For a lot of us who are in the sort of professional services, we're facing working at home. We're all probably sat at home here, or I know I'm working from home and Sean's there working from his home. And we're currently facing times about thinking going back to work. So lots of thinking about our careers and what it means. A lot of people are reflecting on their career and reflecting on what their job really means. And we're also facing a lot of job cuts, unfortunately. We're hearing lots of headlines about redundancies, about changes to jobs. People are fearful about their jobs. So normally when we think about careers, we often think about new careers, new jobs. But for today, we're going to think about how do we really think about sort of moving out of that triage time as we've been in the last few months of just coping to this new normal, again, another common phrase. And people are starting to think about, you know, professional growth, about how they make themselves really valuable to the workplace so they don't face that fear of job cuts. So how do we make ourselves really, you know, vital to the workplace? And how do we fall back in love with our jobs? And as we go through all these changes about, you know, the way of working, the way it feels different, how do we cope with all this change? So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. And we're going to think about how we turn the job you have into the job you love. So how do you make yourselves really critical to the workplace? And, you know, how do we, you know, really fall in love with our job? So I'm just going to ask a quick poll about what do you think about your current job. You can select a few, but it'd be great to hear. If you can vote there, you can hopefully see that poll now. You know, how do you describe your current job? I'm just going to give you a bit to vote. So I'll just give it another 10 seconds and then I'll share it with you. Okay, I'm going to end it and share. So hopefully you can see that. So great, quite a lot of people love what they do. Lovely to hear. I love that. No idea how I ended up doing what I do. Yes, sometimes that happens. Like what you do mostly. A fair few people said that. I like the people, not the work. Scared of losing the job, and that's a real fear currently. And a few people said they'd like to do something different. So great that people love what they do. I mean, it's lovely to be able to say that about your role. In current times, even if we love what we do, sometimes it can still feel challenging. We spend most of our days doing our jobs, and it can be a struggle, and especially with all the changes going on. So even those people they feel a bit disengaged, that can be part of it, working at home, or the world is changing around us, or maybe our organizations are. And for those that like to do something different, that can be a challenge in current times because we're not sure what jobs are available or who's hiring. So what we want to do is focus on how can we make our current job really that, ideal job for us? How can it become that job we love? But, we want to think about sort of the meaning and happiness we can get from our working lives. And how do we do that? How do we get real meaning and joy and happiness in what we do? So I'm going to close that and talk about what it is. So I'm going to talk about job crafting, which was the theme of today. And job crafting, as you can see here, it's about taking proactive steps and actions to redesign what we do at work, especially about changing tasks, relationships, and perceptions of our jobs. So this is a theory that's been used a lot within organizational behavior. The aim there is people can stay in their current job, but able to get more meaning out of it and changing parts of what we do. Helps people feel more connected, engaged with their role, and therefore more productive. So the main premise is that we can stay in our same role, but get more meaning out of our jobs by just changing a bit about what we do and understanding the point of it. So this is what job crafting is. This is definition. It's an employee-initiated approach which enables employees to shape their own work environment that suits their individual needs. And it talks about the job demands and resources. So job demands is those tasks that we have to do, what we have to do for our job. So when someone says, what do you do? Your job demand is, well, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to produce. This is what my aims are. The resources are what's available to us. So what's our job resources? So what's available, like the people we work with, the tools, the knowledge, etc. So understanding jobs, demands and resources is part of it. We're not going to go too much into the technicality of that, but it's important to understand. Job crafting is proactive behaviour that employees use when they feel that changes in their job are necessary. So this is different than what you might have as, you may have come across as job design, when your job is redesigned or a new role is created. And that's how organizations design jobs. And that's led by the organization. Job crafting is different. It's coming from the employee view. So it's much more inclusive. It's much more individually led. It empowers individuals. And it's about understanding how we can work with our teams, especially if you're in a leadership role or if you're in any people management role, thinking about how you can use job crafting to create more empowerment for people to really redefine what they do and how they do it. And we're going to talk about how this is done. So it's very much employee-led, as opposed to just saying, let's redesign. It's what does the employee want? What do we want as individuals? So for you on here, it's for you thinking, how could I redesign part of what I do using job crafting theory and understanding this theory to help me develop a job into a bit more what I love. So, and just another question, have you ever had chance to alter your role or task? Just let me. So I'm just going to ask another question there. You'll see it there. Have you ever had a chance to alter your current role or task? Have you ever, does your organization allow you to do that? I'll just give it another sort of 10 seconds, let people vote. Thank you for joining in with the votes. It's great to hear from, understand what you need from today. Okay, I'm going to end that now and share it with you. So that's great. 56% of people have had a chance to alter their role. Some have a little bit, and there's a quarter of the people there said no. So that's great that it's already within your remit, that you've got some autonomy to be able to change what you've been able to do. Great to hear. It's great to hear that organisations are doing that. I would have thought some people have had to during lockdown. I know I've had to, like I've gone from face-to-face workshops like this, you know, where we'd be meeting in some hotel or office in city centre Manchester to doing it online. So we've had to change a little bit about what we've done. But yeah, it's great to see that. So I'll end that. So the question I'm going to ask is a bit of an open question. So for those who've had change, who've been able to change, or for those who would like to, what's been some of the benefits? I'm just going to ask you to put in chat if possible. What's been some of the benefits to having that autonomy to change in parts of your role? Or what would you think are some of the benefits? If anybody would like to share. I'll just give you a minute to type if possible. So what do you think, if you have not been able to do it, what do you think would be some of the benefits? Oh, you can type on the screen as well there. Thank you, Lorna. If those who've used Zoom, you can use the annotate button. Okay, so some answers coming through. Hopefully everyone can see that. So variety keeps the job interesting. Hilary said, opportunity to develop your skills. Absolutely. So your skills, what you want to do. So by doing that, you're taking some ownership of your career. Modern career theory, we look at models such as protein career models and things like this, where people take ownership of their careers and their professional development. So job crafting is in line with how we see modern career management. That's lovely, Natalie. The organisation wanted me to focus on what I enjoy and where my strengths lie. And hopefully that's coming from some of this theory, job crafting, that's part of the reason we do this. And that's lovely to hear they're doing that. Some of the big organisations really promote this, and for some of the reasons I'll share. More productivity, absolutely. Definitely being in more control, absolutely as well. Feeling more engaged as you get more ownership in your day-to-day tasks. Yeah, so experts in the room here understanding why we do job crafting. So thank you for sharing. So some of the benefits of job crafting, this is from sort of the research that we know about this, and it's a relatively new concept. I'd say really since sort of about 2005, this probably started, and I'll explain what it comes from. The positive psychology movement, which really started around the turn of the century there. So benefits of job crafting: provides employee with autonomy, as being said here, opportunity to proactively shape elements of your role and duties as they reflect your individual talents, passions and interests, which is what Natalie was saying there, and can improve engagement, job satisfaction, resilience and thriving. All things we look at improving. You've probably all done engagement surveys in the workplace and resilience training. So job crafting can help. Improves well-being, feels more inclusive as we focus on individual skills, experience and motivation. I'm sure everybody's been involved in diversity and inclusion initiatives. So this is about, how do we really respect the individual? And this is about having that holistic conversation, saying, what is it you want to develop? Your job feels more linked to your personal values, again, which links to our personal happiness. More attached and committed to your job. So we're less likely to lose people. If people feel more committed, they feel that this job suits them. Happiness at work, and increases mobility to new roles. So this is really important for those who want to keep their professional development. And I think, well, how do I develop myself within my current organization? By following some of the job crafting tools, which I'll share with you, that it allows you to be more open to new tasks, new roles, promotion opportunities, so increases that mobility, and even like sidestepping. It allows that much more mobility in the workplace. And that's good for organizations because we get that knowledge sharing, that movement around, and again, retention of people. So there's 3 categories of job crafting. So task crafting. So this is altering the sort of tasks that you do. So how you do it, the order of what you do. So that's sort of the task that's involved in your role. Relational crafting. So how or who you interact with others. So thinking about how we build our network, and this is really important for being that go-to person in the workplace and improving that, that organization being quite dependent on you and relying on you. So building your network, and it's called social capital, the strength of your network within the workplace, really important. So relational crafting is something we should all be working on really anyway. Cognitive crafting. So cognitive is how we think. So this changes how we think about our job. How do we perceive what we do? What's the purpose? What's the why? Why do we feel what we do has some value? And it doesn't mean we all have to be saving the planet, but what do we do that creates value? And how do we perceive that? And that's really important to understand from an individual perspective, because some people might get why they do what they do, but some people, they may have got lost in sort of that translation, or it may have got, they might not be clear of the importance of what they do, and really understand the benefits of what we do. And again, we see that really important, understanding the why about why we do what we do. So so understanding these 3, and think about which areas of those you could develop. So even if you think, well, the way I do it, the tasks I feel quite happy with, but could I improve my social capital, that relational crafting? Is there, could I develop mentorship programs? Could I work better with my teams? Or could I understand a little bit more about the why, what we do? So I'll explain them a little bit more. So the first one, task crafting. This is about changing up your responsibilities, and it can, add or drop responsibilities you have in that official job description. So this can be done individually, but can also be done as a team. So it may be working as a team in a job crafting session, thinking what is it that we can change between who does what, in what order, even within departments. So job crafting can be done individually, which we kind of focus on a little bit today. But you can also do it as a team or as a department, or it can be with the organization, thinking, how do we change around those responsibilities? Is there tasks that can be moved around to help people feel more engaged? Relational crafting, so this is about the interactions we have. And again, think about those job resources we have. Who's available to you? Can you work with different people? This is important to think about mentoring relationships. Can you engage with different mentors? Coaching opportunities? Can there someone you shadow at work? Can you discuss your work with different team members? And, you know, think about being inclusive with this. Is there people you don't often talk to that you code in your team? You know, this is that really creating that super network, being the sort of who do you go to, being seen a person who has those connections. Organizations work really hard at this one. So we'll see like really different organizations such as GE do this, who are really known for their knowledge sharing. Even like, you know, US Navy SEALs are known for this, like about really building that as a team. We can share responsibilities, we can share ideas, share knowledge. And Facebook talk about this, you know, that any problem is not just one person's, it's everybody's. So if you look at some of the values in your organization, some of this might link in. And it might be a way of thinking, if you want to develop in your organization, look at your organization competencies or values and think, which of these can I improve? Where can I craft? And some of it may fall into that relational. If you see things about knowledge sharing, problem solving, that's often relational crafting. Cognitive crafting. So how do we change the mindset about the tasks we do or the job we do? So how do we create meaning about what might otherwise be seen as busy work? So if you've got, you know, a lot of letters, for example, to write, and you might think, oh, this feels like a bit of a routine, boring task, maybe even. Well, how do you create some meaning in that? How do we create that, you know, there's a value to what we do, to the tasks? And so it may be focusing on explaining, well, the importance of customer interactions and how customers love to hear from us. So these letters have a different meaning. So it's about helping people, helping yourself, first of all. How do you craft it to understand that your perception needs to be altered, but also support each other? So you might have an understanding of meaning, but does your colleagues or does your team members? So again, back to the why. How is it that we understand why we do what we do? There's a great example of cognitive crafting. And I don't know whether you've ever heard this story about the janitor who helped put a man on the moon. Has anyone heard this story? So this is a famous story from the 60s when President Kennedy, JFK, was visiting NASA for the first time. And there was somebody, he come across an employee who was a janitor. He was mopping the floors. And he just said, casually asked the person, what do you do for NASA? And he says, I help put a man on the moon. And his motivation for what he does was he understood that cognitive crafting, that he realized the importance of keeping the building clean so scientists and astronauts could get on with their job, and they didn't have to worry about, you know, be distracted by mess or the trash or whatever it might be, and realized he had a role in how they put a man on the moon. He saw his contribution to the organization. And I just thought it was a lovely story, you know, reflecting this janitor gets it. He understands the vision of the organization. He understands his part of it, and he knows his role has a purpose. So think about his motivation for what we would consider maybe, you know, a routine task being, you know, that has to be done every day, those routine tasks that, you know, sometimes we forget, we can get a bit demotivated by, but realizing that purpose and how that can empower us. So, you know, let's say this person was super motivated and not expecting everyone to get to that level, but to think about how we describe what we do. Think about how the words you use, and try and think about that cognitive processing, using more positive descriptions, asking the why of what we do. So I've got an example to work through. This is someone who's example of job crafting. So this is a cook's job before crafting. So this is how we'd often see the job. We have the role. What's your role? Make quality dishes in the appropriate amount of time while complying with health standards. That's the purpose of that role. We get that. That's often how our jobs are described. We have these components of these tasks within our role. So order supplies, keep kitchen clean, prepare dishes on time, communicate and cooperate with co-workers to ensure quality service. So that's our job design. That's what we know. You'll see a bit here about resources. So we want to think about what resources are available. So obviously the resources, the food, the equipment, co-workers, customers. So this person now, I'm going to show you what it looks like after job crafting. So here is after crafting. So this is the same job, the cook's job, but as you can see, sorry, just someone's coming in the room. So after crafting, you can see here how it's described. It's much more like even the role, express creativity by preparing and displaying quality culinary artwork in the appropriate amount of time while complying with health standards. It's the same output in terms of the food in the appropriate amount of time with health standards. So it's the same there, but the descriptions are so much different. They're much more interlinked. So perspectives have altered fundamentally. This person is very passionate about food and cooking. So the food has become culinary artwork, and that links to them. This is important to this person. A whole new sense of purpose has come. So we can see the cognitive crafting, that this person feels the passion about designing and cooking and really see it as a form of art. And that's come out in their description, how they're going to find passion for it. Tasks are more linked. So we can see the sort of task crafting more to each other, and also in that larger context. So linking it to the feedback from customers, even the supplies are not just ordering supplies, they're for creating culinary artwork. So it's the reason why we do maybe the boring part, we have to do supplies each day. It's to create what they see as creative expression. Some new roles are added, some new tasks are added. Communicate and cooperate with co-workers, and keep kitchen clean and orderly to remove potential obstacles. So we've added a bit more to the task. Again, this has come from the person. You also see the relationship crafting through the customers, through their co-workers. So communicate and cooperate with co-workers effectively to create and display culinary as part of a bigger process, not just producing the food, but making sure that the food they cook is displayed through this passion they have. So, it improves that knowledge transfer. And remember, I talked about that mobility. We start to understand people's different roles, the communication with each other, lots more happening here. So the utilization of resources, this is where it becomes important. How are we using those resources that are available to us in our current job? So the food was a resource, so it's now seen as an artistic medium. The equipment is available now for creating this art. Co-workers are collaborators rather than just co-workers are available. And customers are, part of that discussion. They appreciate what's been created. So we start to see those resources in a different light. So that's what job crafting looks like. And, this, whether it resonates with you or not, it's this person's individual view of their passion for cooking. So think about, what is it that attracted you first to what you do? For me, it's the passion of helping people being happier at work. So how do we do that? How do we keep that in mind? What is it that attracted you to your industry, to your company, to your career? Was there something about that organization, something about their values or their purpose? Again, bring back to help you feel like that. This is the model, the theory around it. I'm not going to go through too much with you, but it's just so that what I've gone through with you is these on the left. So increasing social resources, structural resources, and job demands. So it's using that use the resources and things that I've talked about. Then we go through the job crafting. Now the POC is our perceived opportunity for crafting. And that's what I asked you at the beginning. Have you been able to change your job, change aspects of your work? How supportive would your organization be to this? So that's the key part, because when we see that you have opportunity to do job crafting, we get that work engagement, higher work engagement. The plus signs are like significant, where we see significant difference in role performance. When we get that work engagement, then the engagement leads to greater vigor, dedication, and absorption for the individual. So that's why it's seen so positive, because the impact of it has such a positive impact for the organisation and for individuals. But it's the opportunity to do it, and this is what we you know, we want to create in our organizations the opportunity for crafting. So how do we go about? A couple of steps. We'll do a little bit of how to do this now. Think about your individual strengths. I'm going to share at the end some tools for being able to reflect on what you've, how you can do that. But think about what it is. What are your strengths that you think can create value for your team, for your organization? If you're a leader, have that conversation. What is those individual strengths? Review your job resources and see how they can be utilized more effectively. What's available to you? What's in that network? What are the tools available? Even systems, can you use them better? You know, tech, how can it be used more effectively? Reflect on what you like and don't like about your job. Sometimes we think, I don't like my job. And then when we drill down a little bit, usually through coaching, we say, well, what is it you don't like? And it's, well, I don't like this part of it. Actually, which parts do you like? And it's, you know, is it the whole job you don't like, or is it parts of it? You need to build trust with others, especially your leader. Some leaders, some organizations may not understand the benefits of job crafting. So seeing you want to change your job may be against what, you know, their understanding and their cognitive processing. So it's about maybe taking baby steps. It's maybe about sharing this sort of material. And also developing, working with people who accommodate your ideas. So mentor programs are brilliant. Maybe some of your teammates, or maybe, you know, you've got a good relationship with particular managers or leaders. So think about how we, you know, can get the support we need. It's not just, you know, I'm not saying to everyone go back to work today and say, I'm going to change everything I do and it will get support. It will create, we'll need some support. We'll need some education maybe, and some buy-in. But you can do some micro job crafting. You don't have to go through this whole process. So think about some of the changes you can make. And I like these are short. There's been research on this sort of micro job crafting. It can have some impact on, you know, some of the benefits we've seen from job crafting. So can you volunteer for a new project? Can you spend 5 minutes a day learning a new skill, and that sort of discipline of a few minutes a day of developing yourself? Make time each day for a face-to-face conversation, or if you can't do face-to-face, a one-on-one, if you're still working via video like a lot of us are, or connect in with a new colleague. Don't just always go to the people we talk to most. Most people at work talk to the same people about work. And so to develop your social capital, the first thing to do is challenge yourself to speak to someone new. And it will feel difficult because we tend to have an affinity with the people we trust most, or the people we go to most. So how do we break that? Just try and reach out. And even leaders, think about the people in your team you connect with. Do you connect with everyone in your team? You know, do you make the same effort? Does some feel a bit more difficult? Just challenge that, or even someone in a different department. You know, connect with others at lunch times, maybe on breaks. Can you shadow a colleague? Brilliant way of building that relationship crafting. Changing the formats of meeting. So we have different ways of building relationships, or the tasks of how we communicate. So there's lots of micro job crafting, and think about some of the things you can do within that. If there's leaders in the room, or people who are responsible for others, what you can do is, as leaders, to support job crafting. Set goals with individuals. So don't just go through the standard performance review, but, you know, what are their goals? What do they want? Have holistic conversations about career development. Where do people want to go? What do they want to develop? How can you help craft their career so it develops in line with what they want? For someone who wants to maybe be a leader in the future, maybe they need to develop those relationship sides of their roles. For somebody who wants to be a tech expert, maybe it's about thinking about some of the tasks they do and giving different skills that they need. You know, for somebody who's maybe not fully engaged, maybe you need to work on the cognitive side. So use coaching and mentoring tools or opportunities. Again, it's great for people hearing more about, you know, what's going on, learning from other people. Use coaching techniques to have those conversations where you really listen. And this is really important. Challenge your biases to what you think that person should be doing. Listen to them, to what they need. Empower individuals. So allow them to make the crafting decisions. If you can understand the benefits of it, and people keep within their role as such, so that's that results orientated. So, well, as long as you produce this is what's required, how they do it, individuals should be empowered to figure out how they want to do it. It can be challenging for leaders, so reward positive changes. So when we see changes in things like engagement or inclusive initiatives, some of this may lend to it. So reward those positive change. And again, the diversity piece, tap into diverse strengths, talents, and experiences. Not everyone's going to have to do it the same way. People are going to want to do it different skill sets. I mentioned you can do individual job crafting, but you can also do team job crafting. So run a session where people talk about what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do more of, and less of, and how they can change it, and share those. One member of your team might love doing some of the technical side of the job, whereas someone else loves more of the having to talk to other people, and allow them to take on more of that. And as long as the tasks for your team are being completed, or your objectives for your team, then it shouldn't matter. So communicate strategic goals, really important. This is about the purpose of why we do what we do. What's the purpose of your organization? Sometimes when I work with companies and I say, why do you do what you do? Why does your organization exist? And people struggle to answer that. So what is it? Why is your organization there? What is the purpose of it? What's the strategic goals? Allow people to be part of that vision. Going back to the guy at NASA, who saw the whole goal of what NASA was doing, was able to be part of it. Can your team have that level of being part of the purpose? So sharing strategic goals is really important. So I'm going to give you a few tools you can use for developing yourself with this job crafting in mind. One of the things we want to think about is finding that meaning in what we do. Meaning in our lives, but meaning in what we do. So how does thinking about our work with this way, how does it help create more meaning? And as I talked about, this followed the movement in positive psychology. Positive psychology came out around the year 2000. Seligman was the famous person who wrote about positive psychology. And it would change psychology, that instead of trying to fix problems, it was more about how do we help people build on where they are to be more optimal, to become more optimal. How do we build on people's strengths, and how do we think about people's values and develop? So it's much more positive view of psychology. So organizational psychology followed this and started to think about, things like engagement and motivation and resilience, and things about how do we build people up. So this is a really important model. Really, I just think it's a great one to share that links in with this. So it's the PERMA model. So using your signature strengths and virtues is something about helps us, find meaning and find meaning in why we do what we do. So, so it's about these positive emotions, feeling good, and this is linked to that sort of cognitive mindset, the positive mindset. Engagement, finding flow. So flow is that when we feel engaged with our work. And it's not about time speeding by, but it's about finding something that's challenging enough, that creates a little bit of stress, that in terms of pushes us forward to work, but not too much stress that we then burn out. If we don't have enough motivation with our work, then we disengage. So we want to get that balance where it's enough motivation and it feels hard enough that it's pushing us, we feel we're learning. So that's flow, when we feel we're developing. So this is why it's important to reflect on what you like, where you want to be, and keep pushing yourself, because it's that building of that challenges that will create that flow. Authentic connections, we talked about how important that is. A purposeful existence. Again, with our work, we can link that to what we've been talking about and thinking of what we're doing, why we're doing it. And achievement, feeling like we're achieving something. So this is the model. I'm going to share this as part of the resources. I've sent a link. I've put a link into this at the back at the end of the slides. So how to apply PERMA model to your life. So this is like reflection. This needs a bit of self-reflection. It's something you can do for yourself, with someone you trust, or maybe as a team, you could have this conversation and you can get people to, discuss why they like topics under each of these. So bring it to a workplace, so for the first one there, you know, how do we adopt a positive perspective as often as you can? So as a team, we could share, what do we find positive about what we do? How do we focus on the positives? You know, what is it that keeps us engaged when we think about find things that make you happy and engaged? What is it that keeps us engaged? You could share that as a team. You can do that yourself. So this is a lovely model to use. I think if you want to, you know, do this yourself or think about bringing it into your team. Another really great model, it's so easy, start, stop, continue. Do it for yourself. What do you want to start doing in your job? What do you want to stop doing? And what do you want to continue doing? Do it as a team. It's great to do as a team because you can have each people filling in sort of post-its under this or vote on this, whichever way you want to do it. And you know, some people want to stop some things and some people want to continue. Maybe they want to bring some new ways, new tasks, new thinking. So this is a lovely way, dead easy to use. And this is one we're sharing in our newsletter this month. So do sign up if you want to hear more about how to use it. And then the WOOP coaching model, brilliant resource. I've done the link to the website, great resources here. If you're leading people and you think, how do I bring this conversation? This is a lovely, lovely model to use. So what's your wish? In terms of your job, what is it your wish? What is it that you want to achieve? Something that's challenging but feasible. You can do it for yourself. What is it you'd like to achieve? What's the best outcome of fulfilling your wish? So you might think, you know, my wish is I'd love to be, you know, leading people. I'd love to be a leader within my organization. What's the best outcome of fulfilling your wish? Well, the best outcome, I'd be more engaged. I'd be helping people, which I love to do. What's the obstacle that's holding you back from fulfilling it? So you can ask yourself this, and your obstacle may be, well, I'm nervous to apply for the jobs, or I'm not sure if I have the skills to be able to be a leader. And then the plan is, what can you do to overcome? So start thinking, well, maybe I need to do a leadership course. Maybe I need to approach a mentor to ask who I know is a leader I respect, that maybe they can give me some help. Maybe I need to talk to my own manager or leader and say, how could I reach that level? So you start turning these wishes, and you can have as many of these. If you can reflect on these yourself, or again, have these conversations, and it helps think about what it is you need to change. So these are models that just support coaching conversations or reflective personal conversations. If you want to think about creating, you know, where you should be crafting your role, what is it you should be doing. So there's some tools to help. So I'm going to leave you with just one more poll here. So make sure you're shaping your job, not letting your job shape you. And that's what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to ask you about, what do you think you could do? And it'd be great to hear from you. I've just put another poll there. I put some ideas of some of the things we've discussed. If you could vote on what you think you could do to do this. Okay, a couple of seconds there. Thank you for sharing. So it's good to hear what other people will do as well. Some of the ideas here. Talk to someone you don't usually talk to, great. Ask to be involved in a new project, brilliant. Complete the PERMA model. Then think about what you like and dislike about your current job. Really effective way of just coaching yourself. What do I like? What do I dislike? And it helps change the cognitive mindset, because we go past just focusing on the areas we don't like. There's a term in sort of cognitive processing called focalism. We tend to, and I'm sure you can understand this, you know, when we've got a problem in life, sometimes it becomes the focus of how we think. And it's like that when we focus on the bits we don't like, sometimes that can be, sometimes that can take over and not allow us to see that bigger picture. So that's a really good reflection tool. List of what you like, and then you think, God, I do like a lot. I like 6 things and I only dislike 3 things. Or if it's the other way around, then maybe we need to, you know, you need to get a conversation about that. But making sure you're creating a job that you love, and it improves your engagement, your motivation, your productivity. All of that helps you become more indispensable to the workplace, which is important in current times because we're fearful of job cuts, we're fearful of change. There's a lot going on. So the more indispensable we become, the more valuable we become. And that's what this is about. And as leaders, if you can support people to do this, it really helps people just feel more empowered to do their role. So that's everything from me. I'm going to stop the recording, just ask if anybody's got any questions. And while I'm doing that, I put up some resources. So there's a few things I've referred to that you can look at. And I recommend following some of these links if you're interested in the topic. But for now, is any questions?